As we start off, let's go to the top left-hand side, shall we? On Sunforge to kickstart this TLMC 16 final day of groups. But we're all gonna have a fun Sunday. It is Clem from Team Liquid in the top left corner. Bottom right, our red Protoss player from Root Gaming. This is DnS. Map 1 of the best of 3, and Sunforge, one of these maps that comes in on the macro category. No, it's not. It comes in on the standard category. I apologize. This map seems big to me. Like, to me, this map seems like... And all these bases up high ground, I guess it's not like ramps up into any of the bases. The ramps are a little bit further out. That makes them harder to defend, but I feel like this is a pretty easy 4 to 5 base map. I don't think this is one which... I feel like you could justify this as being like macro. The thing is, nowadays, there's a very fine line between macro and standard, right? Because a lot of standard maps just lend themselves to macro games anyways. The main difference being is that usually macro maps really encourage macro play, and standard maps just allow macro play without too many issues, you know? Live replays, at least everything today is replays because it's the group that was played on Group... It's the rest of Group A, so Group A was played on Group A day. So this is the rest of Group A. But it doesn't make any difference, you know why? Because nobody knows the results of these games, so you can just enjoy them all the same nonetheless. Unless you're trying to bet on the games, in which case, then you can't bet on the games because they're replays, because people won't let you, so... I guess that's about all. We're about down to the main. Reaper poking into the main, having a look to see what's going on, as we just have the Stargate on the way up at the moment. So it's going to be a Stargate opening. Clem's initial Reaper scout looking reasonable here. And just going to be seeing the Adept hopping in and chasing that Reaper out. So, I mean, Reaper already scouting, doing what it wants to do. Didn't get any damage done or anything, but that's fine. That's typically fairly acceptable. And kind of the expectation for the most part. We're just going to set out in the center, and we will be seeing our Oracle still coming in on the Stargate, so that's still coming through here. That will be popping out in a near future. The Reaper of Clem will sit out on the far right-hand side, and just going to be having the Adept at the front is ready to meet this Reaper and sort of say, well, hey, what's up? What's going on? If you want to try and dive in, I'm here waiting for you. There's my buddy up in the main base where the attack team. One in the main, one in the nat. No entry allowed for you, Mr. Reaper. Get out of here, Mr. Reaper. Get out of here. Pilot Council building from DnS. As we get this set up, just going to be seeing our Reaper still kind of hanging out at the front here a little bit, as the Oracle of DnS is going to fly into the main base. So into the main we go. First SCV already going to be shot down. Cyclone gets a lock-on, and that lock-on is going to be good for a lot of damage on the Oracle. So the Oracle already taking some hits, and I mean, beyond this, we are going to see DnS, I think, just venturing toward a third base. Already looking as though we're going to have just a pretty expected setup at the moment. Oracle activates again, going to turn around and try and chase that Reaper. The Adept helping out. Reaper is going to go down. And just going to be seeing the Viking and the Cyclone. Still going to just patrolling in the center. Well, just going to be seeing the Oracle send up a stasis ward out to the right side. +1 attack, combat shield, stim pack, all of that continuing in at the moment as our couple missile turrets continue on out. Just going to be seeing the Oracle getting up to that top corner as well. And just making its way around. A couple Stalkers of DnS just going to be in the center. I mean, not really doing much of anything, right? Clem's just moving into his upgrades. He's on the factory in the starport, building medevacs already. You know, it was just one Oracle, so it's not really super kind of heavy on the Stargate play. We've got Blink about to finish, and that's where the next real point of interest in this game comes from. Blink setting up, and these Stalkers of DnS beginning to move across to the upper left-hand side. So to the upper left we go as Viking, Marine, Cyclone all setting up over here, and just going to have a bit of backwards and forwards with these Stalkers. I mean, these units have stim now, and that's going to be where they are most powerful against these Stalkers. So, see what they can do as the Marines turning into the Stalkers right now, and the Stalkers start to take quite a bit of damage. And Viking landed trying to see what it can do as well, putting a little bit more damage out as we see the charge coming up, the extra gates coming into play. Back and forth continuing here is just going to be seeing our +1 attack now coming in. The Marauders, the Marines still in production, and just going to be seeing our Bioforce. Couple Stalkers being chased away to the side. Going to stem again now as we go in after the Stalkers. There goes one of them dropping down pretty much immediately. So one Stalker already down there, and now these Marines also being chipped away at. And try and get a bit more damage done. A couple Widow Mines will scare the Stalkers off. And for the now, that will be that. Not much else to add to it. 12 probes down across the map, though. My goodness, the Widow Mine drop in the main, I guess, did pretty sizable damage. So he gets in for 12 worker kills. That's huge. That's at risky. Thank you so much for the 27-month resub. Appreciate it. As Clem making his way through the middle of the map, out down to the bottom right-hand side to see what is going to happen next here. So pushing along and making its way in. So you see the Stalkers blinking in to intercept. Clem will not be able to get very far in there with this army then. So that's going to be denied pretty quickly, and just going to be seeing extra Zealots still on the way up. For now. So next few Zealots warping in, the Bio army still backing away. I'm just going to move through the top. Third CC is going to drop down, and the Zealot Stalker army collects over on the right-hand side here. So collecting up a little bit. Army of DnS settling down. And your Stalkers through the center, Bioforce still coming out, and Widow Mines in this as well. I mean, at this stage, DnS still playing very Zealot Stalker heavy. Clem not really able to do too much about that. I think he's kind of just got to let this slide, and I mean, probably you're going to see both sides stacking up. As Clem gets to a lot of Widow Mines, it is important to see some actual splash damage come out from DnS, because if there isn't splash damage soon, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. So that's definitely one thing to be very careful of here. That's something which I think will be problematic if you're not careful in the near future. Highforce going to engage in as we do see the Zealots and the Stalkers coming through. Big connection on one of those Widow Mines. Connecting quite nicely initially. I'm just going to be seeing these Marines getting pushed back, Marauders as well. And a good amount of damage being done there to start us off as a defense from DnS. He's going to push this away. A couple of Archons definitely helping. Just something that has that little bit of splash to it goes such a long way. Helping massively. Bio will re-engage in one more time. Just going to see those few Stalkers still being chunked down. And now these Marauders might want to move further to the right. Another Viking joining up. The rest of the Bioforce coming along as well. And just going to be seeing this group of units going to move in. Observer going to get sniped down. And Clem now will take a step back. As the Colossi coming in, +2 attack, about to complete. All of this wrapping up fairly soon. Good to see the Colossi, obviously, like I said. You think the more splash you get here's DnS, the better off you're going to be. It was really starting to look a little bit troublesome for him as time was passing by. Zealot Stalker Archon will just hold out on the far right, and, well, Liberator going to take a couple shots right away as well. Nothing too crazy coming of that. Redlines get burrowed. A little Zealot counterattack goes into the natural expansion, though, so we're going to get this Zealot counterattack in. That's going to start deal some SCV damage, and that's 9 workers already going down, so that's a good start. In fact, that's a fantastic start. There's a couple of Widowmines burrow. These Zealots are going to get most likely blown up. There goes one, and that will be about it for the moment. 12 workers, though. It's nice, right? It slows Clem down a lot, and Clem's army over here is not really that powerful. Clem's got a lot of units just straggling back at home, and, you know, that were busy defending previously, so they're all kind of holding back. Because now we come around this right side, and, well, next is going to get a recall in. The Medivacs will just load up and take these units away, so out they go. Escaping back up to the top side of the map as a couple disruptors will continue to produce on the natural. So obviously with Colossus up, we move into disruptors, and Clem really should be forced later game here, which is nice because we're going to start seeing 4th bases on either side. And yeah, I suppose, you know, when you look at these bases in position, they're not super easy to defend. You know, it's a good swing around option for the attacker from this base round over to here. So you've got some aggressive options basically onto this. That will definitely help out. Marine gonna go wandering forward. Marine moving over, everything else from DNS hanging around. And that's going to go hunting out across the map. Medevac's already taken some pretty serious damage here, so a few shots going off, and Widowmine shot trying to clean out some of these Widowmines if at all possible. Didn't quite manage to connect just yet, but a possibility for sure as we do see this Bioforce coming back in. We've got plenty of EMPs. I tell you what, that Ghost Count should be able to shred through the Archons, and you can see just the shields disappearing in an instant, so a lot done there pretty much immediately. Widowmine's blowing up a whole chunk of stuff, and that is going to be a lot more damage done. That's a massive cleanup from Clem. He takes a big win off the back of this, and now he'll continue across the map with that, and away we go. So off down to the bottom side. To make some progress in towards these bases. I mean, a back of a fight like this, the only thing that's going to stop him would be disruptors, right? So that is a possibility. You know, disruptors will do a lot of slowing down of these attacks when they want to move in, etc. So, yeah, not ideal. Yeah, going to be enough to slow him down. There's this gateway over here that Clem's now going to find. That's going to shut down some of the future possible aggression from his opponents, so that will be a factor as well. Let's see if this gets cleaned out. That will be a nice little something to kind of get to work on through. Vikings are going to land up as well. Top side, we see another Zealot coming on in, but not going to be able to do too much else with that. So that's another shutdown, and still just seeing another disruptor shot firing forward. That one ain't going to land just yet either. Alright, well, so far, Clem not able to push in or anything. Both players are going to get maxed out again. I mean, Clem is taking the opportunity, though, to tech up big time. Like, he is not messing around with the tech he's currently building. He's got the Liberator production coming through. Just going to be seeing the entire setup here starting to look pretty decent across the board as we get underway with, yeah, I mean, the problem for me is that this army of DNS is kind of staying the same. Maybe a few more disruptors being added in, but everything else is kind of getting to be, you know, a lot better for Clem, and that's the real issue here, is that Clem is getting into such a better spot. Definitely slightly problematic as the hallucination makes its way along. Yeah, thank you so much for the love in the chat, guys. I appreciate it. We'll shout out the subs and stuff properly after the game. We'll get caught back up with that, so we'll move through to that soon. But thank you so much for the moment as we continue the action. I mean, obviously, any moment now I think could kind of happen as we get set up here. Just going to be seeing the army of DNS is coming around, so actually looking to be aggressive right now, getting into that aggressive position. Size setting up and just going to be coming through. Not able to push in just yet. I mean, a lot of defensive positions, like these ramps are good to rotate between, but every single one of these is going to be acting on a choke point, right? So if you're acting on a choke point, that alone is going to be a problem as well. Disruptor shots coming through. Connects on some ghosts. Nicely done. Let's see if DNS can really push on into this at the moment as we come forwards. The Colossi starting to laser down some of these structures and some of these units that are in the front lines. So making our way along with that and just going to be having ourselves a group of bio and libs trying to move around here. Just going to see a couple of SCVs being shot. These liberators all sieged up. I mean, that's what was really good, I think, for, you know, Clem earlier. When I was saying he's getting set up well, you know, getting himself into a position where these liberators were going to be in such high numbers was always going to be great. But now from DNS, he's got these DTs set up, so he's also on his own comfortable kind of later game setup. I mean, DTs are basically how you win this game, right? The DT counterattacks are so enormous. They force a lot of the Terran to go and deal with them. So, yeah, definitely a factor. Definitely something to keep in mind as we see these libs sieging up, and Vikings going to be out there trying and keep some pressure going. Disruptor plays as well, and the rest of these libs all sieging up. Unsieging once more, and DNS still moving out down to the bottom side of the map. Vikings trying to get rid of a couple of the Colossi EMPs onto the army. And enough libs. I mean, these libs should be able to keep on pressing forward a little bit. Disruptor shot coming through. I mean, this is big for Clem, getting on top of this base on the south side, so coming straight down over here. There's not a lot of, I mean, this is kind of fascinating, the fact that obviously, I mean, Clem obviously has expanded here, but that gives him a real quick push across into his opponent's base there, right? So that makes a big difference. We're going to see an attempt to drop into the main with everything. Well, the Medivacs didn't get shot down by the Stalkers, so now the Libs will be able to get sieged. That's going to be seeing our Liberators sieging up across the board and just going to be having the Bioforce continuing through. 8 Stargates just continuing to go down at the moment. Bioforce going to stem in again. Disruptor shot fires. A couple of them coming through, and the Libs just hanging out overhead. The Vikings along with them, and just going to be seeing our Nexus taking some damage here. I mean, it's just so difficult to push into these Liberators, and by the time you do this, I mean, even if you push into these Libs, you're going to lose a lot in the process. There's almost no doubt about that, so it's going to be part of the issues. This Disruptor shot comes through. Here come these Stalkers walking into Liberation Zones, not having a good time. And the Disruptor shot firing forward on the counterattack. Some Dark Templar out to the left-hand side. Oh, no! What a Disruptor shot. That's one way to lose your army in the main. That does give you an easier way to clean up these Liberators. Wow, that's a big deal. Just going to be seeing our Medivacs. Just going to go and unload and just set up down over here. A few pros is going to get picked away at for the moment. Fallon going down, a few probes continue dropping. 32 workers already killed. Clem is continuing to work this position. Obviously, this base here, this entire bottom area is very, drop favorable. So it's obviously very good just to be able to drop down over in that direction. Disruptor shots coming through, and that's going to be... Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a pretty big cleanup on the army. Again, getting rid of so many of these bases, etc., definitely hurting DNS as well. And it does feel like DNS is going to have probably one last chance. Lib is going to siege up in the corner and just going to be seeing our main army moving out again. There's only a couple Marines and Libs. I mean, there's a lot of Libs here. I'm impressed that these Libs might get away alive. If these Libs get to survive, that's obviously really fantastic. So that'd be really cool. It's just going to be seeing a couple of extra Libs sieging up and obviously holding this base. Clem maintaining a lot more bases than DNS is at this point in time. So keeping this going for himself. Just going to come through the top and disrupt the shot. Going to fire. One Marauder gets caught. And DNS's army's still scary. It's just not got a lot of rebuild potential after this. It does almost feel like the sooner you go, the better, because while Clem is maxed out, his army isn't getting larger. You do want to stop him from potentially being able to kind of trade out a couple units and then just rebuild, because that's where Clem is going to be favored. And again, waiting a little bit for DNS does give him large army supply to go with all at once, so that might be worth waiting to max out. But then once you're maxed, I don't think you want to wait around from there, because it is only going to get better economy-wise from Clem. So right now, Clem is not really the player that needs to be mining out. DNS has not got bases. Clem, if he got some scouting done, would be able to find that out, but he doesn't know about it just yet as the Bioforce coming through. Disruptor shot fires is not quite going to land. Another Disruptor shot fires in. Libs still sieging up here across the board. Extra Archons all being brought into play from DNS as another Disruptor goes down the ramp. Is in Liberation Zone. Okay, the Libs on siege. Nothing really going to come from that in the end as Fire Force going to come down. A couple of EMPs landing on the Stalkers and all the rest of it. Up the ramp we go. Going to chase these Archons down. They are all going to get caught EMPs. There's just so many you can spam them. So anytime you see an Archon, you drop 2 or 3 and boom, it's out of energy. It's out of shield, sorry. And then obviously it just dies so quickly from there. We're going to see this force continuing down the bottom side. The Liberator zone's continuing up. And just going to be seeing this Ghost gets picked off on the ramp also. As now we push out to the right-hand side, taking down a couple of gateways. All of this army out to the far left-hand side, so pushing in, just going to be working through a couple turrets, working through a sensor tower. We're going to turn this into a full-on base trade, which for DNS is probably good. If he can shut down Clem's production, then all the money that Clem has is a little bit less useful. Of course, still having more money than your opponent in a base trade is nice, but it does take, I think it's probably one of the better options for DNS. He's been able to find a way to work his way around the map, and that's one thing about Sunforge. There's a lot of directions you can move around on this map, right? You're not just shoehorned into 1 or 2 attack paths. There's a lot of different ways to move. So being able to work your way around this Terran army and eventually force this base trade is something that I imagine DNS has been looking at for quite some time as one of his options. And now has struck. So he's in the main base. He's continuing to clean his way through this entire set of production. Clem has got some barracks over here. He's building more on the bottom left corners. And the problem is DNS doesn't have a lot. So at some point here, Clem might just want to go back home now. He knows the main and natural will be mined out, and there's not really any production that's worth killing then if his opponent isn't mining. So he may as well come home and just start defending some of his extra bases, which he has got production structures building back up on. That should make a bit of a difference here. It's just going to be seeing our Stalkers going to struggle to get rid of these Liberators, though. I mean, again, that's the big issue, that Clem got to this Liberator count, and DNS in no way, shape, or form was really ever set to deal with this Liberator count. Single Zealot in the main base, swiping at the Debo Planetary on the top side will go down. I mean, Clem's even got a base over here, though, right? So, talk about having good control of what's going on right now. It's just going to be seeing everything coming back through from the top side, and I was going to see our Bio Liberator army setting up in the center as well, still trying to see what's next. Going to push down the south. Disruptor is going to clash onto a few Marauders. These Libs are going to siege up across this little structure in the center, and I do not think DNS can take a fight, guys. I actually do think he's in a lot of trouble here, and I think this might just be on the way to being over. As much as I hate to say it, a few snipes coming down, so a few Zealots getting shot down for free. Another few Liberators sieging up on this top side, and I guess Salad4's having to back away. Bits and pieces coming through. Back in the center, Lib's gonna siege up. I see another disruptor shot coming through. A couple disruptors going out and doing okay. Just gonna be seeing disruptors continue to connect. A lot more Libs gonna try and push into this and again just basically bully their way on top of this army. Remember that Clem is reproducing during this, so he can really force fights. A couple picks for him goes such a long way. Oh, that disruptor shot felt like it was about to go into the army that was stimming into him. Again, the fact there's a planetary here is just painful too, and while the disruptors will stop the Terran army reaching the Protoss, the Libs are just a fantastic method to chase with, right? And they continue to do exactly that as DnS works his way onto that top right base, which he's re-established. And so that's why he's going to try and work forward from as we have another disruptor shot coming in. Let's continue to siege up. Archon's going to get hit here a little bit. Bioforce has to continue escaping down the bottom side. And the Colossi get a decent start of this fight. Libera is continuing to siege, continuing to cover this front line here, and just going to be seeing DnS. This is for the moment staying out of reach. The Liberators are going to reach in themselves though, and like I say, it's only a matter of time surely before Clem is on top of this base, removing the final mining of the game. This is where, by the way, some of the production left alive in the main is obviously helping DnS, and why Clem maybe at some stage should have left at least a drop of units to maybe try and deal with that, but I understand initially pulling back. I do not disagree with that decision. DnS is going to rotate down and take down this in the below-ground planetary fortress, so we'll knock that down as we do see the couple of pylons will fall. Not on the right. I'm just going to siege up once again and just having our army once more coming up this ramp, and in they go. Well, this is pretty much the commitment from DnS. It's do or die right here, but the EMPs are too much, the Liberator damage is too much, and that's going to be map number 1 going the way of Clem. 28 minutes to pick up the first game. Little bits. Thank you very, very much as we dive on into our next game. In the top left-hand corner, our red Terran player from Team Liquid is Clem, taking the 1-0 lead. Had to work for it. They've had advantages a couple of times earlier on in that game, just wasn't really able to capitalize at all. As in the bottom right side, our blue Protoss player from Root Gaming is DnS. DnS decided not to build Tempest. Well, I mean, did he have a chance? The question is, did he have a chance to build Tempest? I think he didn't, because the reason Clem got up to so many Libs was because he won a massive fight in the center, and while he couldn't push in, that's because DnS was spamming out units to make sure he could rebuild and survive in that moment. So, yes, DnS didn't build Tempest, but he wasn't really set up in any way to build Tempest. It just wasn't a pretty situation for him at all in that regard, so yeah, definitely a I don't know. I don't want to say that I don't want to just put that on DnS, be like, he didn't build Tempest, he's so silly, you know, because I think it's more kind of how the game was going more than anything else. Thank you, Von Schleyer. Thank you so much for the 400 bits. You have 400 bits for some reason. Well, there you go. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Hope you're doing well. Congrats on being up here on the start of the stream. Did the casters all agree on a set schedule to cast from replays? Well, the casters don't have the replays. Only I have the replays. The way it works is that when the live matches are played, 5 matches are played off screen as well. I collect the replays of those. So I'm the only person alongside the players to have the replays, so no one's allowed to cast them until I provide the replays. Like I said, today was meant to be basically like an extra day of groups. Just, you know, we basically take 2 matches from each group and we put them onto today, so that then each day we did 8 best of 3s, which is a little bit more comfortable than 10 best of 3s. But Group A was so long, and I had to go out. I went to the theater on the day that Group A played, so I had like a time cutoff, like a time limit. So Group A was super long, and so we had 4 matches left when I had to leave. Then Group B was kind of long, but we just ground through it because I said, well, you know what, may as well make sure we get a couple matches out of the way so that Sunday isn't super long, right? And then Group C and D were just short, so we played all of those in one day as well. So now we only have 4 best 3s. And I was mentioning this earlier, this was going to work out because I was meant to have some sponsored content today, but they didn't set up my unique tracking link, and I don't want to do it without the link because I'd imagine that's not going to count, and then I'd waste 3 hours of my life. So, you know, at that point, it's just would be silly. So, just kind of in a bit of a situation, basically. So, yeah, that's what's going on. These Reapers, by the way, early game, going to kill an Adept, and this is bad. These probes are in trouble until that battery finishes. We're going to get one more, and that one's going to die as well, right? One more shot on it with 3 Reapers at once. Might have actually gotten the kill there, I think. Thought there's going to be some potential. Yeah, he gets it. Now this probe's out of reach of the battery. It went back into range, so he turned one of the Reapers around because the Oracle was going to kill them all anyway. So he turns one around to split them up, and that does allow him to scout into the main base, but he didn't get the probe because it then at that point had moved back into range. And obviously that makes a little bit of a difference, so that's what went down there, as we do just see our Oracle heading out to the upper left-hand side. So just going to chill out in the center. That's how DNS gets set up early. After wasting life on a game and you're not getting dollars for it. While I very much appreciate getting to play games for money is nice, there's no point playing a game I'm not interested in spending longer on. If I'm then going to have to do it all again, right? It's actually a cool game. It's Final Fantasy XIV Online, which I've played before, and not to a huge extent, but I think it's obviously a good game, stands up for itself, right? And I don't have the time to come into an MMO, so whatever time I put into that is very much so not something I'm going to be able to put in too much longer after, so may as well get them dollar bills when I do it. And also includes, like, streaming, right? And streaming is kind of, kind of a commitment as well. 2 Oracles and a Phoenix join up as a few Marines are going to wander forward, and I do have Adepts and Sentries just collecting together, so moving on in here and getting set up. Another Adept coming through, and just going to be seeing our Oracle is about halfway done. And these few Marines coming in, and the Rocks taking some damage. Oracles will just be sat out overhead on this group of units as the Adepts and the Sentries sit strong on the 3rd base. Clem will not be able to do much initially here on Cosmic Sapphire. Gold base in the corner of this map as well, by the way, so just in case you were wondering what's going on over there. As the Marines continue to work their way through this. Wow, I haven't seen this. I don't know if I've noticed this effect before, by the way. This looks amazing. I don't know if I've just not looked in this section of the map, or people who haven't been here because we haven't seen these rocks killed a lot. I didn't really... Wow, maybe it's just catching my eye today because it's all over the map. I don't know. Just over here I saw it and was like, that's really cool. We casted this map a shit ton and I didn't notice it at all, so good job, Wardy. One Marine will catch the first stasis, but there is another. And we'll want to be careful with this. Yes, you've got Stim and Combat Shield, but +1 soon. I mean, it's nice and all, but you just got to be careful. Blink only just started, though, from DNS because he built 3 Oracles and a Phoenix. So his Twilight Council, and hence the Blink, is extremely late in comparison. Stalker's getting through there, grabbing a Marine. Just going to be having a few extra Marines coming in from the top side, chasing the Oracle away. And just going to be seeing +1 attack then. Should be finished up soon at least. That shouldn't be too much longer until it's done. The extra Marine still coming down the bottom side. Just going to chase the Phoenix and the Oracles out of there. And we continue to gather up down on the south. So setting up out on the south. We're going to see some more Marines and Medivacs moving into the center. Blink is halfway done. +1 attack is halfway done. I mean, that's where DNS's future defense is basically going to come from, right? Those setups are going to be pretty much what he... And those upgrades are pretty much what he's going to be set up with and what he can play with here in the future. So, see how it goes. He grabs an Oracle here. He grabs all 3 Oracles here. That's actually pretty neat. That's obviously fantastic. Zamarine's going to sit out. Stalkers and a couple sentries going to be hanging around. And again, a little bit of back and forth going down at the moment. Seven probes getting picked off as the Widow Mines on the bottom side got a little bit involved as well, so they also continue to have a good time here initially. That's going to be CI Marines and Medivacs joined up the side. The Phoenix attacking up these couple of Medivacs. They're going to move back along up the left. Marine's going to go stimming on in, and initiating the fight. Stasis Ward goes down, and just going to be seeing this army hanging out the front still, so actually going to scan for the Observer. DNS is never really pushing this back, and the longer that this sticks around for, the more problematic this potentially becomes. Fire Army still moving through, Sentry coming in, and well, Forcefield on the back right side shouldn't be able to do too much here. It's just going to be seeing our Stalkers still taking some damage. Clem is working his way into the natural. This is a problem, because now these Stalkers don't really... I mean, how do you move in with the, you know, Marauders in play? I mean, you really need some splash damage right now. Fire Force coming across, a few more Zealots continue to go down. Stalker's taking extra damage, and this really does look as though it's going to be a little bit too much Clem this time around. He has a lot as he moves in. Pylon goes down, the Stalker's coming back. There we go. Sending around, a few more Stalkers continue to go down, and I mean, this was a situation that you just never broke out of, basically. GG's, and Clem is going to grab game number 2. Gets the 2-0 to start us off there.